Teams with LA City Libraries to help save arts education. Gil Reyes reports on a national after-school program that's finally arrived on the West Coast.
Grade school kids in South Los Angeles receiving free arts education from what's billed as America's largest art school. And there's no tuition.
It's a wonderful arts program for kids in our libraries where they'll be working with resident artists. We think of the library as, of course, an education organization, an information organization, but the library is really a cultural institution, and it is indeed an arts institution.
LA City librarian John Sabo talks to us from Junipero Serra Branch, site of the West Coast launch of Project Art. Project Art is an after-school program that began in New York City. Its goal, to provide free arts education to underserved kids at neighborhood libraries.
We provide the art supplies, the curriculum, we give an exhibition at the end of the year, we recruit, train, hire, and pay the teachers as well.
It immediately struck me as a very efficient and effective program to tackle this issue of declining arts education in our public schools.
An estimated 4 million grade school students don't have access to arts education because school districts can't afford it. LA City libraries taking part in this program include Junipero Cerro Branch in South Los Angeles, Hyde Park Branch, Cypress Park Branch, and Washington Irving Branch in Arlington Heights. Enrollment is first come, first served. Register your child at projectart.org. I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
The program also helps prevent latchkey kids from going home to empty houses while their parents are still at work. Project Art is also taking place at libraries in New York City, Detroit, Miami, Chicago, and Pittsburgh. A 4-month carnival of Latin American art is wowing crowds from Santa Barbara to San Diego and several points in between. Gil Reyes reports from the opening reception for Pacific Standard Time, LA.
Performers in downtown's Grand Park help launch a cultural extravaganza spanning hundreds of miles. Time for Pacific Standard Time, LA, where even the information kiosks are works of art.
So we wanted to produce a space that felt enclosed, that you were entering into kind of a sanctuary space. At the same time, you wanted them to have visual and spatial access to all the other activities in the site.
We are at the kickoff of Pacific Standard Time, LA, and its focus on Latin American and Latino art. Literally dozens of venues to choose from all across Southern California for you and your family to enjoy.
Ranging from Santa Barbara, Palm Springs, San Diego, and obviously most of the art institutions in Los Angeles are participating.
Venues just in Los Angeles include the Getty Center, Hammer Museum, LACMA, and MoCA. People could read up on all of it at this information pavilion. Close by, postcards like this one promoting Afro-Brazilian art at UCLA's Fowler Museum are handed out.
Each card has a different museum on it and a different art image, and we are giving people the opportunity to collect them.
Plan out your day and create your own artwork by building a House of Cards planner. You can choose to learn about Chilean-born video artist Juan Downey or radical female artists of the 1960s. Or why not visit both exhibits in one day? Dancers, singers, caricaturists, they're there too. This collaboration is led by the Getty.
And it's political pressures that put borders around people. And works of art build bridges and not walls, we like to say. And I think this is going to be evident in to a great extent, Pacific Standard Time, LA.
The events run through January. In Grant Park, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
For information on all the exhibits, dates, and locations, log on to pacificstandardtime.org. Well, Councilmember Jose Huizar seeks to boost the budget for the 6th Street Bridge Park to make sure residents get what they want. Does your local park make the grade? Find out in a new report. And a Chatsworth Park closed for a decade is back in business. All these stories in City Beat. LA City Council member Jose Huizar introduced a motion during a city council meeting to secure $2 million from the Adelante East Side CRA funds for the new 12-acre 6th Street Bridge Park that will sit below the new 6th Street Bridge in Boyle Heights and downtown Los Angeles' Art District. It's slated to open in 2020. The motion is part of Huizar's commitment to securing an additional $6 million to raise the bridge's park design and construction budget from $23 million to $29 million to ensure that the public space on both sides of the river have design elements that the Boyle Heights and Arts District communities support, such as soccer fields, basketball courts, water splash pads, dog parks, and event space. LA City Controller Ron Galperin released a report card for city parks, giving poor scores for the maintenance and cleanliness of restrooms, but better marks for playgrounds, trails, and gyms. A survey of 3,700 park users also found that cleanliness and safety concerns keep them from using the community parks more often. The report card graded 40 of the city's 95 designated community parks. The city manages a total of 444 parks ranging in size.
Together, we can make sure that our parks be the very best that we all want them to be.
10 years after it was closed because of lead contamination, Chatsworth Park South on Devonshire Street has been reopened. The property used to house a skeet shooting and trap range. In 1978, a portion of the park was developed with a recreation center, parking lots, and other outdoor features, but was closed in 2008 after environmental investigation found remnants of lead shot and clay pigeons contained hazardous substances. The park has been cleaned up and redesigned to include natural landscape features, bioswales, trails, new equipment for children's play areas, and open space. It's an opportunity for young people to help bring something positive to their community. Rasha Goel has more on how a group of students is doing just that.
For Youth, by Youth is the main theme of this fun-filled festival that was recently held outside of the Boyle Heights City Hall. The event was a collaboration between Councilmember Jose Huizar's office, Boyle Heights Youth, and other local organizations.
It's a message that we're sending to young people. It's about telling them that we care about them, that we're here, and we could do better if we work together as a community.
The festival was planned by 20 high school students who met every week for 2 months.
This was a very interactive and wonderful experience for me to actually become a part of something and actually bring something to the youth and plan it out.
Boyle Heights has been known in the past to be a gang-concentrated area. Over the years, it has changed, but events like this, the councilman says, helps give the youth a chance to make positive choices.
We're proud of our young people, and we're trying to do as much for them so that they have opportunities.
We understand that youth sometimes really want to go out there, but they just don't find the resources, which is why we helped out today. We brought in these activities, and along with it, each agency was partnered up with the activity, and they were able to really connect with it.
What made you want to be an author and want to write?
Yeah, well, for me, I dreamt of being an author. Like I spend a lot of time in the library, and I would look at the bookshelves, and I wouldn't see any Latino names up in there, except for a couple.
They hope this is the beginning of many free and family-friendly block parties. I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
Travel back in time to experience what it was like to be a pioneer, celebrate Latin culture during the Festival of the Americas, and get moving to the beat of the Watts Towers Day of the Drum Festival. All this in this week's Things to Do. Chatsworth Pioneer Day is a fun family festival with loads of old-time activities, food, games, and museum exhibits that feature Chatsworth equestrian heritage and pioneer families. Activities include a bake sale, blacksmith, wood carvers, leather crafts, panning for gold, veteran quilt display, rock chippers, beekeeping, telegraph station, butter churning, and more. It all takes place on Sunday, October 1st at 11 a.m. at the Homestead Acre of Chatsworth Park South. Kick off Hispanic Heritage Month by celebrating at LA's Festival of the Americas. Hosted at La Plaza de Cultura in downtown LA, this all-day event is an opportunity for both Latinos and lovers of Latin culture to honor the diversity of North and South American cultures. Festival highlights include local and international cuisine, Latin-inspired drinks, traditional Latin games, and international and regional music. The festival takes place Sunday, October 1st from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. at La Plaza de Cultura in downtown LA. For more, visit lafestivaloftheamericas.com. A lineup of world-class musicians, singers, dancers, and drummers will hit the stage for the 36th annual Watts Towers Day of the Drum Festival. It's a celebration of music, arts, and people coming together. It's a festival not to be missed and takes place Saturday, September 30th and Sunday, October 1st at the Watts Towers in LA. For more, visit wattstowers.org. And that's a look at some things to do. Well, that's going to do it for this edition. I'm Yana Kane from all of us here at LA This Week. Thanks for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
What if a disaster strikes without warning? What if life as you know it has completely turned on its head? What if everything familiar becomes anything but? Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, it's up to you to be ready. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed today.
Need a recycling center? Call 311, the toll-free number for non-emergency services. 311, your one call to...
Good morning, good morning. Today is Tuesday, October 3rd. If I could ask everyone to please take their seats. Please take your seats. Madam Clerk, we do have a quorum. Would you call the roll?
Blumenfeld, Bonin, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Heristason, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rodriguez, Rue, Wesson. 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Okay. If I could ask everybody in the council chambers to please rise before we take any official action today. I think that it's very appropriate that we rise and have a moment of silence. There's so much we could say. I don't think we could ever say enough. So maybe the best thing for us to do today is just to rise and show our support for the victims and their families in Vegas. So please, everybody, a moment of silence. Thank you. And if you would all, we're going to go out of order a little bit today since we are already standing at attention. Why don't we go immediately to our flag salute? I'd like to ask Mr. Paul Krikorian to lead us in today's flag salute.
If you'll please face the flag and remain mindful of the values for which it stands. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Krikorian. Please be seated. Madam Clerk, first order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Ms. Martinez moves and Mr. Koretz seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Englander moves and Mr. Buscaino seconds. Next.
Mr. President, there is a request to continue item 8 for 1 week to October 10th.
Okay, without objection, so ordered. Continue.
Items 1 and 2 are items noticed for public hearing.
Do you have cards?
Yes, there are cards on both items.
Then continue.
Items 3 through 11 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Okay, members, any specials on these? Mr. Krikorian?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to call items 3 and 9 special, please.
Okay, let's hold items 3 and 9 per Mr. Krikorian's request. And if we could all prepare to vote on the remaining items. Madam Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Continue.
Items 12 through 21 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, so without objection, those items are now before this body. Do you have cards on these items?
Yes, there are cards on 13, 14, 15, 16, 19, and 20.
Okay, let's hold those items. Mr. Krikorian?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask that number 13 be continued, please, until January 16th.
Okay, so without objection, so ordered. Let's prepare to vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Continue.
Mr. President, that takes council back to presentations or items called special or general public comment.
Thank you.
Damn, it's hard to do a presentation.
Mr. Walsh, we're going to start off with Mr. You could pull Mr. Walsh up on my screen. Mr. Walsh, items 1, 2, 14, 15, 16, 19, 20, 22, and then your general public comment.
Yes.
No, 22 is for the special, so you'd have to. All the items I mentioned except that. Come on, Mr. Walsh. Mr. Walsh, Mr. Walsh, don't disrupt. If you want to complain, then you can sit closer. No, Mr. Walsh, come on. Nobody's in the mood for your foolish. Mr. Walsh, I gave you the items. Speak on them.
HollywoodHighlands.org. I'm a cripple. I have a hard time walking.
Speak to the items, Mr. Walsh.
And let's start. You can see the way he heckles me.
No, Mr. Walsh, speak to the
Number
items.
one,
Last time you'll
hearing
be warned.
Comments. Determination of convenience or necessity for alcoholic beverages. We don't need any more liquor licenses. Most people who are hit and run, it's by someone who's drunk. They run away, and the blood is on your hands. We have more hit and run in this city than in any other city. The blood is on your hands. Politically correct blood. Next is another one. Public convenience. This is on North Alameda Street. Next, number 14. This is the Walk of Fame. Looks like crap. Go out there and take a look at it. Bullets whizzed by. Dolph was shot out there. His shooter was released. Do not come to Hollywood Boulevard if you are a tourist. Your life is in danger. This is Steve Carell gets a star. LL Cool J gets a star. The gangs, come on, all you gangs, come on out and celebrate. And Darryl Hall and John Oates. These are 14, 15, and 16. These are stars. Number 19. This is a affordable housing linkage fee nexus study consultant BAE urban economics. You don't know what the hell that means. I don't know what the hell that means, but I do know that it means $20,000 into their pockets. Okay, now I'll go to my 1 minute.
Let's give him his general public comment.
Bonin, welcome back. You're gone for 5 weeks. City clerk, where are his excuses? That's $15,000. He was gone for 5 weeks. I want to know why he was gone. And the answer is, shove it up your ass. It's none of your goddamn business why he was gone. He's just sitting there acting like he's busy. I'm telling you right now that this building is a fire trap. On September 8th, the fire alarm rang, the building was evacuated, and they didn't tell us why, but I did find out. The fire sprinkler system burst in the basement. This building is a fire trap. It's out of control, and no one gives a shit whether this building is in. See, they're afraid that the Olympics are going to drop out if they find out that this building is a fucking fire trap.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. And Mr. City Attorney and the clerk, that's our last multiple comment speaker. So I'm closing public comment on the multiple comment period. Let's vote on items quickly. Items 14, 15, 16, 19, and 20. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Could you go to general public comment? Do we have Heidi McKay? Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. Brenna Norton, Donald Lowe's, please come forward. Is Mr. Julius here? I saw him earlier. So, Brenna Norton, Donald, Brenna, are you Brenna? Come forward. The floor is yours.
Good morning, City Council. My name is Brenna Norton, Senior Organizer with Food and Water Watch, representing about 20,000 members here across the LA County area. Asking today Mayor Garcetti and the City Council to protect LA residents and DWP ratepayers and stop the Delta Tunnel rate hike, which is scheduled for a vote on October 10th at Metropolitan Water District. As you know, consumer watchdog groups, every environmental group in the state, numerous neighborhood councils in every city council district here today, every fishing group, environmental justice groups, and labor unions are opposed to the tunnel rate hike. I want to thank Councilmember Martinez and Councilmember Rue and the City Council for passing a motion requiring certain conditions on the tunnels. However, your resolution is being ignored. Let me repeat that. The resolution on the tunnels is being ignored and is not stopping Met from forcing a vote on October 10th at Metropolitan Water District. There is now a multi-billion-dollar funding gap.
Thank you.
We need you to protect LA ratepayers and
Thank
stop
you,
this.
Ms.
Thank
Norton.
you.
Thank you. Is Donald, please come, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a personal comment. My colleagues and I are here to be acknowledged by our wonderful councilman. But I'd like to point out that we're here as representatives of neighborhood councils all over the city. Our group, which has approximately 15 board members, represents lots and lots of people. And I just want to point out to the hours that are given to this city as volunteers are the eyes and ears of those of you sitting here in the Horseshoe. And when we come down as concerned citizens, not as activists, not as NIMBYs, and not as squawkers. We come down to try and point out those things that we have seen, which we hope you can help better for us. And we ask for your cooperation, although we don't have any power other than to advise. And when we do come down, we'd like our advice to be taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Julius? Mr. Julius. Okay, I don't see him. So, Mr. City Attorney and Madam Clerk, that closes our public comment portion of this meeting. Let's go to item 2. Item 2. Sergeants, let's find out what he wanted. We'll go to item 2. Who do you have? We could go to item 2. Judy Lee. Judy Lee? Okay. Okay. All right, let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay. Item 1, I have cards on item 1. If I could get those speakers. Reverend Moore, we're on item Reverend Moore, we're on item 1, followed by Cindy Block. Reverend, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, son.
It's on, sir.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Clarence Moore. I'm a resident of the city of Los Angeles. I'm here to appeal to the city council, the mayor, regarding this California water fix. We work with low-income families in South Central Los Angeles. This would be a burden on the families that are on fixed income. So I'm here to appeal to you today to please stop this. I attended Councilwoman Martinez's committee meeting. I was so impressed with how she handled that and made those recommendations. So I'm here again to appeal to you to stop this vote on the 10th. This is ridiculous. People are struggling. They have to decide between paying DWP bill and putting food on the table. So they come to the church and we help them. So I'm really appealing to you to help. Just imagine a mother on 104th trying to decide to buy food or pay the DWP bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend. If I could get Miss Block now, please. When Reverend Moore moves, please come forward.
I have no comment, I pass.
Please come forward.
No comment, I pass.
Thank you. Now on item 1, if we could open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay. At this point in time, I want to recognize Mr. Paul Koretz. Mr. Koretz. Mr. Wizar.
It's up to the podium. If we could ask that number 19 go forthwith, please.
Without objection.
Let's have everybody come on. You should stand in front. Everybody else should be behind. Well, good morning, Mr. President and colleagues. We're here to recognize and honor the founding members of the Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council that represents...
Wait a minute. Let's give them a round of applause for all of your service. With no pay, long hours, we really appreciate it. And thank you for all of that you've done for this great city. Thank you.
Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council represents the hillside communities stretching from Laurel Canyon to Sepulveda Boulevard and from Sunset Boulevard to Mulholland Drive. It was officially certified on October 8th, 2002, and next week it'll be celebrating 15 years as a neighborhood council. As the advocate for more than 27,000 residents, the BAB-CNC is currently made up of representatives from more than 35 residential associations, local schools, businesses, faith-based institutions, in addition to members at large. We're here to commend them on their countless hours spent over the years assisting the city to provide an arena in which all stakeholders participate, giving an opportunity for dialogue to take place at the very beginning of an issue rather than after a problem has been exacerbated. We could never list all of the accomplishments and betterments that they have pushed through. They have found funds and safety equipment for their communities, fire departments, and police departments. Let's just consider that with the partnership that we have with them, we accomplished the baseline hillside ordinance, and moreover, the BAB-CNC was a critical part of the process working with building and safety to encourage better staging and haul routes. But I especially want to highlight the tireless efforts that have kept our unique hillside neighborhoods and communities safe. The people standing here have shown up at monthly evening meetings instead of going home to their families. They've left work early to come downtown and speak at committee meetings and city hall hearings to provide the boots-on-the-ground perspective. They have physically walked the ground of proposed developments and pored over scores and scores of maps, studied them, and recommended street improvements and traffic mitigation measures. They've spent countless hours in meetings in their local communities and then sat on neighborhood council committees to help the city improve its policies. These volunteers have sacrificed and shown up for many, many, many years and mentored many more to carry that responsibility forward. They have been yelled at by neighbors and mentored neighbors on how to work with the city, all as community volunteers. They're an integral way of life for a city of this size to get things done. But moreover, the hillside BAB-CNC has faced drought, fire and mudslides, development and population increase in their unique hillside neighborhoods, and it continued to show up protecting its people, wildlife, and natural environment in perpetuity. Currently, we're finalizing planning products that 15 years ago seemed impossible. Issues like the Ridgeline Ordinance, Wildlife Corridors Ordinance, to place permanent protections for the residents and the environment. And before I hand this off to my colleague David Rue, I'd like to point out that we have 3 certificates of appreciation today, among the others, for 3 founding members who have passed away: Ken Stern, Alan Fine, and Gordon Smith. Because they were all an important part of this process, and we'd like their families to know that we honor them as well as for the important foundational work that they did for their city. And now, we'd like to ask my colleague David Rue to say a few words as well. Oops, sorry.
Oh. Thank you, Councilman Koretz, and good morning. And I'm sure this morning is even more beautiful at Bel Air Beverly Crest, but I want to really thank everyone for trudging down here to City Hall, because we are here to celebrate the 15th birthday of Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council and the many leaders who work so hard for their community. And in particular, I really want to thank Robin Greenberg, President of the Bel Air Crest Neighborhood Council, Nikki Miner, the Vice President of the Council, and all the many members of the board here today.
Let's give them a round of applause. You guys don't realize how hard they work. I do.
And, the Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council, as Councilman Koretz says, represents a large number of Los Angeles hillside communities. And I am lucky to represent a few of them, like Laurel Canyon, the Bird Streets, Doheny Estates, North Beverly Park, Franklin Canyon, Doheny Sunset Plaza. And together we've weathered our share of the storms, and in some cases, literally. But I'm so proud to have worked with everyone here, and we created in creating things like the haul route capping system for the Bird Streets, the first of its kind in Los Angeles. We introduced the Party House Ordinance to put our neighborhoods first, and we're continuing to work to prioritize public safety in our communities. So much what we have done and continue to do relies on the help of neighborhood councils like Bel Air Beverly Crest and like so many others across the city. The Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Councils empowers its residents, strengthens local communities, and makes for a more open and fair government. So as the chair of Health, Education, and Neighborhood Councils Committee in the City Council, and as your partner in Council District 4, I really want to thank for your service and your dedication to your community. And happy birthday.
And now I'd like to invite the Neighborhood Council's president, Robin Greenberg, to address us as well.
Welcome and good morning.
Thank you. And I want to thank you so much for always being so welcoming to us when we come to speak. It means a lot.
It means a lot to me to have you here.
Thank you. From the Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council, a heartfelt thank you to Council District 5, Councilman Paul Koretz, for inviting us to celebrate our 15th anniversary in City Hall, coordinated by Allison Samard, Director of Communication. Our enthusiastic recognition of the positive interactions with staff members, Chief of Staff Joan Pellico, Director of Policy Jeff Ebenstein, Senior Planning Deputy Faisal Al-Sari, and Valley Director Grammeet Kara. Also, a grateful thank you to Council District 4, Councilman David Rue and his staff, Sarah DeSalt, Chief of Staff, Julia Duncan, Senior Planning Deputy, Nikki Azari, District Director, and Alice Roth and Catherine Landers, Senior Field Deputies. We are standing here thankful for the founders of the Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council here today, Robert Ringler, Steve Twining, Ruthie Wise, Larry Leiston, Don Lowe's, Ann Beisch, Cassandra Barrere, Don Farkas, Carol Hamilton. The Bel Air Beverly Crest Council was officially certified, as Paul Koretz said, on October 8, 2002, and at its first governing meeting They elected a board on March 26, 2003. It represents the city of Los Angeles, as Paul Corrett said, the hillside communities stretching from Laurel Canyon to Sepulveda Boulevard, from Sunset Boulevard to Mulholland, and is comprised of representatives from more than 35 residential associations, local schools, businesses, faith-based institutions, members at large, being an advocate for more than 27,000 hillside residents. Members of the Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council were instrumental in the passage of the Baseline Hillside Ordinance with our councilmen's help, the Hillside Construction Regulations with our councilmen's help, the Wildlife Habitat Corridor with our councilmen's help, and the hopefully upcoming Ridgeline Ordinance with our councilmen's help. Our Planning and Land Use Committee under Robert Schlesinger and Stephanie Savage and our Emergency Preparedness Committee under Chuck McGinnis meet regularly and achieve great things. Thank you for today.
Thank you. Mr. Koretz, you need to bring them in every week because it's the councilman's help, the council. I tell you, bring them in every Tuesday.
I'm now planning on doing that if my colleagues will indulge me. So we'll see you next Tuesday. So,
let's give them another round of applause, though. Let's do that. Mr. Koretz has certificates for everyone.
I think we'll pass out all the certificates in the back, but we'll take a photograph with one just as a prop.
All right. Again, thank you so much for all you do, and thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you for your help, your staff at the Los Angeles Garden Club.
Unfortunately, I'm not there. Councilman Root, I understand you're a rumor.
Well, if I can let Ms. Rodriguez and Mr. Krikorian know that you guys are on deck for our next presentation, so as they make their way into the back, the two of you can proceed.
Good morning, colleagues.
Good morning.
So I'm very delighted that this is actually my first presentation as the newly elected councilwoman for the 7th District. And I'm
all right.
Thank you. We celebrate every little victory, right? But it's particularly special because I'm joined today by a group of individuals, and I think to follow and succeed the presentation that just occurred before this speaks to the importance of community activism. And what's so important about what the group of individuals that stand with me today, what they represent, is a group of voices that are reflective of the diversity of the 7th District, but more importantly, that took advantage of an opportunity to bring the cultural history and importance of the Armenian community into the 7th District. And so the individuals that I have with me today are residents and supporting community members for the Armenian Cultural Festival, which will be occurring this coming Sunday, October 15th, on Commerce Avenue from 12 to 8. And I'd like to invite all of my colleagues to join me because, by the way, it's where I bust out my best dance moves. Right? But I'm joined this morning by my very good friend Sonia Tatulian, Edwin Miranian, who represents Armenian Cultural Sassoon, Shushig Avakian, who is our newest commissioner on the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment and a longtime Sunland resident, and Nishan Bilakian. So thank you guys for being here this morning. But what I want to share is that this event was made possible through the application and pursuit of a DCA grant, Cultural Affairs grant, and it was with a minimum investment that they were able to produce an incredible event that turned out over 5,000 residents in the Sunland Tahunga community. And it was an incredible event. We're looking forward to another great success. But I just want to say that these are the partnerships that make this job very special. And when I think about what opportunities lie ahead, it resides in the fact that I have this incredible partnership with amongst the diverse members of our community, and I'm just so grateful for the work and leadership that each of you exuded in this vision and pulling this event together. And so I'm grateful to be your elected representative, but more importantly, I'm most grateful for the incredible partnership and friendship that I have with each of you. So thank you so much, and I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, Councilman Paul Krikorian.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rodriguez, and thank you for allowing me to share in this with you. You know, it occurred to me this may be historic in many ways. First of all, because it's your first presentation, but also because this group of people has been represented by 4 of the members of this council, it occurred to me. Ms. Rodriguez now, Mr. Wesson before, myself before that, and Ms. Martinez while she was on the school board. So this is a rare thing when so many of us feel such a connection to this community. But I just wanted to lend my support to Ms. Rodriguez in recognizing the great leaders of the Armenian community of Sunland Tahunga who are putting on this festival. And it's important on many levels for our entire city. First of all, this kind of a cultural recognition is vitally important, of course, to the Armenian immigrant community, who's working so hard to preserve their cultural traditions, a rich cultural tradition that goes back millennia. As a diasporan people, it's very challenging to maintain those cultural traditions, and this festival is a gift to all those who hunger to be able to retain that cultural tradition. It's also important to people like me, Armenian Americans who've been here for over a century, whose families have been here over a century, who long for a deeper connection with that cultural tradition. And it gives us that opportunity as well. But maybe most important of all, it gives the entire community an opportunity to come together in peace and in partnership to understand the different cultural traditions that there are in our community and to share in that. And it's especially important, I think, in light of the fact that it was just a little bit more than a year ago when a young mom in Sunland Tahunga named Hasmik Chatalyan was commemorating her Armenian heritage, commemorating the centennial of the Armenian genocide, and commemorating the losses that had been suffered in the horrible military aggression committed by the Azerbaijani regime against the people of Artsakh and Armenia. And she put a flag out in front of her house. She put an Armenian flag out in front of her house. And as a result, she was threatened with a racist, threatening, life-threatening note, which this city had to investigate as a hate crime. And it wasn't the only hate crime. So this kind of a cultural festival, especially at this time in our country, is so important in healing those kind of divisions, in extending out a hand and an olive branch of peace across the community. Hopefully everyone will take advantage of this, be able to come together as neighbors in celebration instead of in division. So congratulations to the Armenian Cultural Sassoon Association and to the Sunland Tahunga Neighborhood Council, one of my favorites when I represented the area. This is really a gift to our entire community. So
congratulations. Give them a round of applause.
So I'd now like to invite up Shushe Gavakian for some words.
Please come forward and welcome.
Thank you. I'm Shushi Gavakian. I've been a resident of Sunland Tahunga for 19 years. And surprisingly, I just started getting involved in my community there almost a year ago, mainly because we realized that our neighbors in Sunland Tahunga didn't know about our culture, our art, and our history. And just like Council Member Krikorian said, there was a hate crime against an Armenian family. And we all got together and thought of how can we introduce our culture and our arts and for people to get to know what we're about, because most people are scared of what they don't know. So we decided to organize this festival, and it was through the support of community members and organizations that we were so successful. We hope to have another successful festival. Thank you to the Armenian Cultural Sassoon Association for allowing this festival to happen under their auspices. And as community members, we help the festival by doing outreach for them and just bringing more awareness and getting more of our community members involved. So thank you, everyone.
No, thank you.
So on behalf of the City of Los Angeles, I'd like to present this certificate to the Armenian Cultural Sassoon Association.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's take off your sticker. There we go. Take off the stickers. Thank you. Let's go. Yeah, of course. Thank you.
So let's give Ms. Rodriguez another round of applause. Her very first, won't be the last, but council presentation. Well done. Well done, colleague. All right, so Mr. Julius, wait. I called you 3 times for public comment. I closed public comment. I am going to reopen it to allow you your 1 minute. So I'm going to reopen. You got to come right now, Mr. Julius. Julius, right now. Because I closed it, so come on. Go ahead.
Alman Fjord of Wesson, the 5-star bar, the best burgers in the world, no bullshit, 3rd and Main. Senator Harris and CNN have joined ISIS to murder Americans. This is not a joke. They're doing that by keeping the Tamarinomics from the American people. Justice Ginsburg said the American people have the right to hear the truth. That's part of the First Amendment. Ex-FBI Director Comey said he doesn't have enough resources to stop a nuclear terrorist attack on LA. Oh, shit. The people have a right to hear about Tamarinomics. Senator Harris and CNN need to be brought to justice. I need lawyers to help me to sue them. Senator Harris must be executed for treason. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Julius. Thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk and Mr. City Attorney, I am now closing general public comment. Will not open it again. Okay, all right. Okay, now let's go to... looking for Mr. Krikorian.
You forgot your...
Okay, why? Okay, Mr. Krikorian, so sorry to rush you. But did you want to do 9 or 3?
Either one, Mr. President. On item number 3, I called that special in order to move recommendation 3B, the Budget and Finance Committee's report.
Okay, so now let's prepare to vote on that item.
And a
Or
second.
Mr. City Clerk, Madam Clerk.
A second for his motion, please.
I got it. I'm giving it up right now. You got it. I second.
Thank you.
Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, now, Mr. Krikorian, I have 2 cards on 9. Maybe I do the cards. So if I can get General Jeff and Tom Grody or Tom Grode, please come forward. Go right ahead.
Good morning, City Council members. My name is General Jeff. I am the chair of the Skid Row Neighborhood Council Formation Committee. First, I want to thank Councilmember Krikorian for his leadership on this item. But let's be clear, this is not an extension of a pre-existing contract. There is a different dollar amount, so it qualifies as a new contract. So therefore, an RFP needs to be issued on this. There is no sign of an RFP. There is no existence of competitive bids. And we, the people, demand the RFP process be invoked. So this item needs to be tabled effective immediately. Also, too, everyone counts submitted a letter and took a position when they stand to benefit from a financial gain, so they should be disqualified as a candidate to receive this funding. Also, too, lastly, there are unresolved issues with the Skid Row Neighborhood Council subdivision vote that took place earlier this year, and it has been unaddressed by Dunn, the city attorney's office.
Thank you, General. So if I can get the next speaker.
Hi, my name's Tom Grody. I'm a Skid Row resident, and I just wanted to really just concur with the last thing that General Jeff said. I went to the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners meeting, and just very concerned that not only are you not looking at what happened with the Skid Row Neighborhood Council election, but you're literally using, this is an understatement, the problems that took place to now try to establish some best practices. So you're not looking at what really you should be looking at, but you're just using it to benefit the rest of the city. So I find all of this just so profoundly disrespectful.
Thank you. Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you, Mr. President. And let me say first, this has been a really difficult process, and Mr. Rue has worked tirelessly to try to get us to the point of some kind of a resolution of how to deal with the Neighborhood Council election schedule and how to prepare or whether to prepare for online voting across the city. That's not, the online voting part is not what's before us today, but members, I think you all have heard me express my concerns before about online voting, particularly as it's been applied so far. We had a test case in Studio City and elsewhere, which, in my view, famously failed. It was a complete disaster on many levels. And then I think, in addition, as we've heard from some of the speakers, there's concern about online voting creating a social inequity and disenfranchising significant communities who may not have digital access across the city. So those are my concerns about online voting. The reason that I wanted to call this special is because if you take away that issue, I don't see that there would be any need to continue the election dates as they're currently scheduled. And in my view, philosophically, incumbent members of any legislative body shouldn't be voting to extend their own terms without an election. So I'm simply going to vote no on this matter, and then as we move forward with hopefully there will be much further discussion about the whole implementation of online voting.
Thank you. Let me go to Mr. Rue. I have Mr. Englander. You want to take Mr. Englander and then you to close? So why don't we go to Mitch Englander, and then I'll close out, David, with you. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. With everything Mr. Krikorian said, but on top of that, too, I haven't heard any requests from any of my neighborhood councils for even a discussion on online voting. And I know this has come up in many other circles, and what was experimented with in downtown as well that didn't really work out well. So I'm not there yet, which I'll be voting no on for now, but I'll see what comes back, if anything, and reconsider it at that point. I'm not totally opposed to it, but I'm just not there, and so I'll be voting no as well. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to call on Mr. Rue, but today's vote, Mr. Rue, I'll have you explain, as Mr. Krikorian said, it has nothing to do with online voting. I know as a member of your committee, I've expressed to you my concerns where it relates to that. I agree with Mr. Krikorian. Disaster could be an understatement for the last one. But with that said, to the chair of the committee, Mr. David Rue.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. Today we are voting on an item that was fully vetted in the Health, Education, and Neighborhood Council Committee. And we held 2 meetings with my colleagues, Council President Wesson, Councilmember Cedillo, and with over 40 speakers from the Neighborhood Council system. We also requested 3 additional report backs from Dunn and the City Clerk to cover our concerns and the concerns raised by Councilmember Krikorian. But basically the direct democracy system of the Neighborhood Councils is very important to this city. And running a system of 97 councils is also sometimes a bit messy. The 2016 elections proved this, and in particular the online voting. And we have worked hard with these recommendations to ensure that the next elections are first class. To do this, we had to make some compromises. The already scheduled 2018 elections, in the opinion of our departments, would not have been successful. Since we need to move the neighborhood council elections anyways, due to the city council election changing years, we decided to move the neighborhood council elections to 2019, and thus allowing us to streamline the process and implement reforms. Today, we are voting to enact that changes to and instruct the city clerk to take full charge over ensuring that those elections in the future are run properly, efficiently, and smoothly. We are also giving Dunn the time to prepare a full outreach plan to ensure that we get a lot of candidates and a lot of voters in these elections. Finally, in particular to the online voting issues that we had last time, we are tasking the city clerk with fixing the system to ensure that it's ready for those neighborhood councils who wish to opt in the future. And again, I want to reiterate, as Councilmember Krikorian and Councilmember Weston has stated, that we are not voting on the online system today. The online voting will come for a vote before the council in the future when it is ready. And I believe that these recommendations listed below are in the best interest of the neighborhood council system and our city, and I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Rue. No more speakers on the queue. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes, 2 noes.
Okay. Okay, Madam Clerk, why don't we go into the special meeting, so you'd want to recess this one?
Yes, we can recess this, and I can call the roll for the special.
Go right ahead.
Blumenfield, Bonin, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Harris-Dawson, Weezer, Caress, Krikorian, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rodriguez, Rue, Wesson. 13 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Okay, the item before us.
Item number 22 is an item notice for public hearing, and there are cards on the item.
Okay, so let me call, let's start with the cards. Kathleen Cahill, Jennifer Dill, Christopher McKinnon, Stan Hoffman, and Mr. Walsh. So please come forward. Mr. Englander.
For whatever reason, it didn't show up as a no vote on that item, as I indicated. Thank you.
Okay.
It doesn't change the outcome.
Please, just come on forward and identify yourself.
My name is Kathleen Cahill, and I'm a resident on Pacific Avenue in Mar Vista. So, per the City of Los Angeles website, the Bureau of Street Services Resurfacing and Reconstruction Division's mission is to maintain streets, alleys, and related throughways in perpetually good to excellent condition while providing desirable standards of safety, convenience, and appearance for residents and the traveling public. Therefore, isn't it the responsibility of the city to use its residents' taxpayers' money to budget and pay for this? I have not agreed to pay for any construction on the streets in my area. I won't be strong-armed or obligate myself for an $8,000+ payment that I never agreed to, orally or in writing. I cannot afford this outrageous amount of money to fix a street, nor will I submit my tax return for someone in an undetermined who-knows-where office to determine hardship on my behalf. If the City of Los Angeles unethically forces me to pay or risk having a lien placed on my home, I request today a confirmation letter from this council stating I
Thank-
did not agree to any of this.
Thank you. Thank you. If I could have the next speaker.
Good morning, Council.
Yes. Get a little closer to the mic, please, and identify yourself.
Good morning, Council. My name is Jennifer Dill. I'm talking about the same proposition. I reside on East Boulevard. I basically never agreed to any construction on the street. I basically wrote letters saying no each time, and every time they asked me for $8,000, I said no, I didn't have it. Basically, I'm going to retirement. I would have never agreed to it anyway. I actually feel like I'm being strong-armed. I'm stressed about this. They're telling me that I have to pay. They want me to mortgage my house to pay for a bill. Basically, all my friends are getting their streets fixed free. I don't feel like I should have to. Basically, from the beginning, I said no. I would like a letter from the city confirming that I said no from the beginning and that I'm not obligated to pay any of this. And basically, Randy Price, for him, the Bureau in Construction, suggesting that I mortgage my house, I think that was ludicrous. I thought that was very rude of him. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please, and identify yourself.
Christopher Mckinnon, live on 11837 North Park Avenue. This project is about 10 years old, so we got into it because the late Bill Robertson came to the neighborhood and said that BSS couldn't repair our failed street until the neighbor paid for the curb and gutter. So the only thing we were being assessed for is the curb and gutter. It was a long process. Stan, after me, has a long list of thank yous to the city electeds and staff. So if you'd give him more than a minute, I would appreciate it. And we are happy with the work, and I think it's improved the neighborhood, and it's an example for other neighborhoods to improve the neighborhood so that the city can do their work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please. Identify yourself.
Good morning. I'm Stan Hoffman, a resident of the Mar Vista North Oval at 3980 East Boulevard. And I brought a list of thank yous for the assessment district and the road rebuild. I worked with Chris Mckinnon on the assessment process from the neighbor's point of view. And I also, in the handout that you're getting, I did include one picture of the road rebuild to show you how it came out. It's terrific. It's improved our safety, our water flow, the accessibility, our property values. I specifically wanted to thank acknowledge the late council member Rosendahl. We started under him. And I really thank Bonin for picking up the mantle afterwards. And without your help, a lot of the hurdles we had to get through would not have happened. I also want to thank all the council members because you had to vote on some of the resolutions that he brought forward. So
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, or J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. Okay, these are the people who live in the area, Mar Vista near Venice Boulevard, homeowners should not be forced to pay for this. The Improvement Act of 1911, they've been waiting in this neighborhood for 106 years for curb gutters, driveway aprons, street improvements, and related work. 106 years. And now you're in a hurry to take the money out of their hands. We don't need these curb gutters, and if we're going to have them, then the whole city should pay for them, not just the white people who live in the neighborhood. This is a neighborhood that targets white people because this is a minority city council.
Thank you. Thank you. So that concludes public comment on this item. Members, let's prepare to vote on this item.
And for the
Madam
record,
Clerk?
Mr. President, the public hearing will be closed.
Okay. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, so why don't we adjourn and return to the regular? Okay, did we take care of Mr. Englander's? Oh, Mr. Bonin, I didn't. Did you? We've already returned to the regular agenda on that. Maybe under announcements, Mr. City Attorney, he could reference, so we can handle it that way. I did not see it, so that mistake is mine. But I want to make sure that we change the Englander vote, Madam Clerk.
On item 9?
No, on the was it 9? Okay,
Yes,
so
that vote was corrected.
okay, because I know he made the request during the special. So now we've returned to the regular. What's before this?
Council has motions for posting and referral.
So they're posted, they're referred, and I'd like to go to Mr. Bonin right now. Welcome back, and Mr. Bonin.
Thank you. Just sort of a PS announcement on that previous issue. This was an assessment district where the residents of that neighborhood have voted and cast ballots to do this assessment. My understanding is that this is a required public hearing as a result of that, and we don't have the flexibility to undo the results of that assessment election. But I'm going to ask the city attorney to provide me with information clarifying that point, just so that we can know and share it with the members of the community.
Thank you, Mr. Bonin. So any further announcements, members? If all would please rise. All in the council would please rise for adjourning motions. If all in the council would please rise, I'm going to look to my left side. If I could get quiet, please. My left side, Mr. Weezar.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for having that moment of silence this morning for all those who died in Las Vegas. And we hope to adjourn in memory of all the 59 who passed. And here closer to home, we had a person who resided in Eagle Rock, Michelle Vo, who was among the 59 who were tragically killed in the Las Vegas massacre. She worked for New York Life in Glendale, grew up in San Jose, and attended UC Davis. She was only 32 years young. Our deepest condolences to Michelle's family.
No, wait a minute. Stop, Mr. Weezar. Mr. Herman came in the meeting disrupting, so now Ms. Sargent's remove him, okay? You don't come in during adjourning motions and do what you just did. So you're removed from the council. No, and Sargents, if he continues, just get him out of here.
And just for the record, Mr. Herman was advised earlier today about this.
You were advised first thing this morning in committee. You don't come in and disrupt during the adjourning motions.
To make noise as he leaves the room and shouting and disrupting our adjourning motions.
Yeah. Okay, so look, I apologize to those of you that are here. Mr. Weezar, why don't you, again, I'm sorry for you and the member, the survivors of her family. So go right ahead, Mr. Weezar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, our deepest condolences to Michelle Vo, a resident of Eagle Rock, who passed at the young age of 32, who was one of the 59 tragically killed in the Las Vegas massacre. And may her family and friends and all of us from Northeast Los Angeles come together at this time of sorrow and remember her and all those who passed this past weekend. Also, Council President, I wish to adjourn in memory of Dick James, a great friend, community member, advocate for youth, and human being. He was born in Southgate on February 8, 1934, and lived most of his life in San Gabriel. In 1975, Dick James & Associates was created as a hotel sales consulting firm. Over the years, it became a fundraising firm centered in Boyle Heights, concentrating on youth programs and utilizing Dick's friends and acquaintances to raise over $20 million for youth activities, conferences, and scholarships. Dick was director of sales at the old Holiday Inn on State and Marengo Street in Boyle Heights from 1977 to 1984. While he worked there, he met Cesar Chavez because he was one of a few hotels in the area that allowed the United Farm Workers to have meetings at hotels nearby. Dick also supported the Boyle Heights Chamber of Commerce, Lincoln Heights Chamber of Commerce, and the Hollenbeck Police Business Association, who all held their monthly luncheons and events at the hotel. Dick served on many associations and foundations, including the Hollenbeck Youth Center, Inner City Games Foundation, Hispanic Engineers National Achievement Awards, and Great Minds in STEM. In addition to Dick's generosity and continued support for all things Boyle Heights, he was always very positive, always had a big smile, and he lit up the room when he walked in. I called him the best-dressed man in Boyle Heights and throughout the city. He always wore a matching tie and handkerchief and a stylish hat at that. Dick's good sense of fashion, coupled with his big smile, make people remember him not only as someone who served the community, but he was also a great human being. I actually met Dick back when I was running for the school board, and I was introduced to him by the late Marco Firebaugh, Assembly Member Marco Firebaugh. Dick has been a huge supporter of mine since then, but one reason he said he's been supporting me is because of the work we've done together to improve children's lives. He held that deeply, and whenever he would walk in a room, he'd always make sure that he mentored and talked to the young people in the room as well. Our deepest condolences to his lifelong friend, Mike LaCour, and his two cousins, Judy and James, along with the countless friends and people he helped throughout his life. He will be greatly missed. Our good friend, Dick James, may he rest in peace.
Okay, thank you. I'm continuing to look to my left. I don't see any more adjourning motions. To my left now, I look to the right. Is Mr. Koretz?
Thank you, Mr. President. We've had so many tragedies worldwide in the last few weeks, but I belatedly want to adjourn in memory of a couple of the victims of the Mexico City earthquake. Rafael Camargo Troya, also known as Rafa, was the first victim in the neighborhood of Linda Vista when the 7.1 earthquake struck on September 19th in Mexico City. He was a caregiver and a psychologist with plans to attend graduate school. He was a loving man, and he showed it until his death at 36 years old. At the time of his death, he was the primary caregiver of his 90-year-old great-aunt. Most important to Rafa was his family. After returning with her from religious services, Rafa was parking the car when the earthquake struck. His grandaunt survived, but he did not. As a psychotherapist with plans for specialization, he looked forward to helping others who often turned to him. He was kind and warm, a great human being who would have saved someone's life, even if that meant giving his own. Rafa will be greatly missed by his friends and family, including his cousin, CD5 constituent Andrea Leon Grossman. Also, Gabriela Hain Pimienta, also known as Pepper, was one of the many victims in the neighborhood of La Condesa on September 19th in Mexico City. She lived in an apartment building that collapsed during the earthquake. A couple of victims were eventually pulled out of the rubble alive, but she was not one of the lucky ones. She was a devoted wife, a mother of a 6-year-old daughter, and a great friend. A fun-loving, warm-hearted person, she stood for justice and respect for all. Pepper set the bar high for herself, and reached her goals. She was an animal lover who had a particular fondness for dogs. Pepper had an MBA and was a very successful real estate agent and insurance broker. She never lost touch with her friends from grade and middle school. Everyone who met her, however long or short a period of time, appreciated the great human being that she was. For all her dedication to her friends and family, Pepper will sorely be missed, especially by her high school friend, sadly again, CD5 constituent Andrea Leon Grossman.
Thank you. Are there any
rest
more?
in peace.
I'm sorry, Mr. Kretz. Any more to my right? I don't see any more. Before we adjourn, just let me make a quick point here. This council is very supportive of everyone and anyone that would like to come here and do public comment. When it is your time, you can say primarily whatever you want. We have very few restrictions. The one thing is we do not let you disrupt our meeting, and when you speak, you have to speak on topic. So for people that are here that are new today, those that are watching, when we remove the person from this chamber, it was because he did not respect the rest of the people that were here. So we welcome anybody you want to speak before this council. You come up, you can say hateful things that we don't want to hear. We'll fight tenaciously for your right to say what you want. But when your time is over, you cannot disrupt the rest of us. With that said, this council meeting is over.